Greetings and salutations. Welcome to another episode of 365 Days of Gaming. Really appreciate you taking out time to check out this video. Do what the thing says around that area over there, something like that. All right, yeah. Anywho, we're going to talk about a game that came out towards the end of the SNES life cycle. So for me, I was a little late switching over because, didn't have a lot of money, so we had to keep it going. And fortunately, we got a lot of cool games towards like the middle of the 90s. So like 95, 96, 97, the SNES was still getting some heat. So I want to present one of my favorite games from back then, Marvel Superheroes War of the Gems. Now, this is not to be confused with the fighting game, right? Marvel Superheroes, which also was a fantastic game. We'll probably get some shine at some point on this program here. But this one was one of my favorite genres, right? It's a beat 'em up. Very simple, gameplay style, but also very, very, very advanced in the beat 'em up genre. So essentially, we talked about X-Men Mutant Apocalypse, right? So take that same combat style and replace some of the X-Men with Marvel superheroes. So instead of just having, Cyclops, Psylocke, Beast, Gambit, which are fantastic characters, right? We get Captain America, Spider-Man, the Hulk, and Wolverine, who's always a staple. And essentially, you are trying to figure out what's going on. Everybody's trying to collect Infinity Stones, and you got to get it cracking. The cool thing was it had the same battle system like Mutant Apocalypse, which means it had special moves like Mutant Apocalypse, which was really cool. So you could do all these combos, and more so, well, I won't say more so, but equally as good as Mutant Apocalypse in that each character really had their own play style. And this was one of the first games where, there was the Captain America beat 'em up from back in the day, and it was pretty cool. But I was never a big Avengers guy. I was a big X-Men. Like the X-Men to me were always cooler than the Avengers. And then when this game came out, I'm like, okay, well, there's something to be said here. Cause they went with Spider-Man, which is always a good choice. And, this is kind of where I started to fall, more for the Iron Man side of things. I started seeing Tony Starks was really about that life. He was really top tier in my book. So I'm like, okay, I can start digging this. And then Captain America is really, really good in this game. Like he has some really good long range things with the shield, but he's also got some of the best combos and some of the best air attacks. And if you have played this game, it is really important to be able to scrap it out in the air because, walking around really ain't the best option a lot of times in this game. It's too dangerous to be stationary in this game because things are coming from different angles. They want you platforming. Everything that Mutant Apocalypse did, this game did, and sometimes was a little bit harder. So the other cool thing is this game has super moves. So unlike Mutant Apocalypse, which had everybody had their special moves, but nobody had like a super, you have these gem attacks. And what you can do is the input for it is super weird. And as a kid, I could never figure it out. I thought it was a 360 motion, like, Zangief and all that stuff. And it's not that. It is like up, right, down, and then you press the attack button, which as a kid, why would you, go from anything like that? So I was always doing the 360 motion until later on I went and tried to play this game and looked up an actual move list. But like each stage, just like Mutant Apocalypse has its own sort of, kind of design to it. It's based on different Marvel locations. Like you're going to Dr. Doom's castle, you're going into this underwater area, which I'm assuming is because of Namor. But every stage is a little more difficult. And just like Mutant Apocalypse, there's the initial mission stages, and then you get into, okay, it's getting a little crazy. So the villain, originally would be like Magus, and you're trying to figure out what is he doing, and you figure out he working for somebody else, the good old Marvel tropes. But each stage is some beat 'em up goodness, and the only thing is that it is still single player, so we have to deal with that. But overall, man, this was a fantastic game that I, again, this is a rental special, so I pick it up, try to see if I can make it through, and then of course not make it as far as I want to. But sometimes you get progress, sometimes you learn some things, and there's different ways to complete each level based on the heroes you're playing. So like Iron Man can make jumps nobody else can make because he's got a double jump. Well, Spider-Man and Wolverine, they can crawl on things, so they can climb up walls and access certain areas that other people can. And the Hulk, he's the Hulk, so he's strong and he can knock down walls and stuff like that. But for the most part, he doesn't have as much flair. But let me tell you, he hits hard. So if you're just trying to get through a level, you need somebody to just cut out the light work and just rush through. Hulk is your guy. But there's no bad characters. This game is it's just, it's great. It's what I want from video games. So I always enjoy it. And if you know about this game, let me know some of your good stories about this. Always a pleasure reading all the comments about it. So I appreciate it. As always, I appreciate you also letting me reminisce with you. So y'all have fun. Y'all be safe. Peace.